Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today for the talk on the topic Beyond the Space Race, Technology, Ethics and the Limits of Speed. And for this conversation, we invited the aerospace expert Dorottya Milankovich and the visual artist and researcher Irene Sanchez. And my name is Silvia Binda and will moderate the talk. So first of all, please let me introduce our dear guests. Dorottya Milankovich has a degree in physics from Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest, Hungary, and she studied at the International Space University Space Studies program of 2023. In the past, Dorottya coordinated the space chemistry research and development project at InnoStudio Inc. During her university studies, she participated in an ESA-supported international students rocket program, the REXUS program, and she was an intern at the BHE, Bonn Hungary Electronics Limited, where she got work experience in radiation simulations. And she was the Hungarian national point of contact at the UN-supported Space Generation Advisory between 2014 and 2019. And this year, Dorottya worked for a German rocket company, the Rocket Factory Augsburg, as a sales manager. Now she's a technical project manager and a business development manager in Munich at HPS. So welcome, Dorottya. And Irene Sanchez Mora is an artist, teacher, and researcher, currently working as a PhD resident at the Lab for Unstable Media, V2, in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. She develops her doctoral thesis on new techno-artistic imaginaries in the face of post-colonial structures in the outer space. Her artistic practice focuses on imagining devices of resistance and critical interfaces that help us think about other ways of relating to exteriority and otherness through speculative design. Irene graduated in Fine Arts from the Polytechnic University of Valencia and holds a master's degree in visual and multimedia arts. She is part of the research group Laboratorio de Luz, the Light Laboratory, in the same university where she works collectively around interactivity issues in the arts field. So thank you very much to both of you for being here today. And we got here together with both of you because you are interested in the topics around aerospace technologies and the space exploration, although each of you is researching this topic from a very different perspective. Like in case of Irene, it is mostly an artistic and very critical perspective, also with a strong speculative position, whereby Dorottya is engaged as an aerospace professional. So she has experience both on the scientific side as well as within the research. And also your experience ranges through a wide range of public and commercial organizations that are active in the aerospace industry. So I believe that this difference that your backgrounds bring are great for an open, honest and unbiased debate. And because it is actually the space industry that can be seen as like the exponential example of technological progress, it is also interesting what this says like about the technology in general and technological driven society. So of course another important context which is crucial for the session and I would like to highlight is the female perspective that both of you are bringing into this male driven area of space technology and space related research. So I will start with my first question to both of you. Could you please explain to us what is your what is your main interest or your main focus in your research or in your work, and from where this interest arises? Irene, can you start, please?
Yes. Well, so as you said, my main interest is in the cultural structures we are unfolding in outer space. On one side, those cultural gestures that already exist on Earth that we replayed on the outer space, such as colonialism and power logics, but also that other side that understands the outer as a speculative place where we can just or seems easy to imagine other social orders, other ways of governing, and those science fiction scenarios that could take place. Mm-hmm. And I think, it all started 4 years ago, in fact, with the Perseverance landing on Mars. I don't know if you remember, that happened on February 2021, I think. And it triggered something on my ongoing research. That was that quote from Roosevelt, they encrypted on its parachute. So on the broadcasting of that rover, which is those technologies that explore the surface of Mars, those robots, there was a Roosevelt quote encrypted on its parachute, saying they're with mighty things, or with powerful things. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that without context doesn't mean something heavy, but in those years, that summer especially, I don't know if you remember, but George Floyd was murdered in Minnesota, and all Black Lives Matter were forcing to quit Roosevelt monuments all around the states. So, that came up with, or it was just a sign of that maybe those post-colonialism or colonialism structures were just getting into the NASA public research.
Great. So, and then you also turned this into your PhD research topic.
Yeah.
Amazing. And Dorottya, how about your interests, or and how did you come to this place?
Okay, so I have 6 years of experience in the CubeSat world. The CubeSat means a small satellite, which is 10 times 10 times 10 centimeters cubes, basically. And after working here in Hungary at C3S, which is a CubeSat manufacturer company, I changed and moved to Germany, to Augsburg. And as you mentioned, I worked for a rocket company, which was really, really interesting and exciting. And hopefully next year, the first rocket will be launched from northern Scotland, from Europe. And after that, I changed to another segment of the space world, which are the subsystems. And right now, I'm working at the HPS. It means high performance space structures. Our company is working on different structures, including antennas and reflectable and deployable antennas. So, for example, I don't know if you have heard about the HERO mission. It was launched a couple of weeks ago, and we made a huge antenna on board of that satellite. And my role in the company is a technical project manager and also business development manager. And my product, which I have to develop and sell, is a drag sail. A drag sail means a huge sail. You can picture a boat with a sail, but it's of course smaller, and it can be inserted in a satellite, on board of a satellite. And when the satellite nominal operation or the lifetime is over, the sail can be deployed. So until that point, the sail is stowed, and when the satellite is already dead or just finished the purpose, the goal, it can be deployed. And with this sail, the satellite can come back to the atmosphere much more easily and faster. And it's very, very important right now because of the space debris. We will talk about it later. But we have this new rule right now, the 5 years rule, which means that every single satellite in low Earth orbit shall be burned back in the atmosphere after 5 years after the lifetime. So we are working on that right now.
Amazing. And was this new rule adopted due to environmental issues, or?
Yes, exactly. Actually, the space debris, it's a well-known problem in space, and it can become a huge issue, especially now when more and more satellites are launched. And all of the regulators, all of the regulation bodies are aware of this problem at the moment, and starting from the United Nations through the European Space Agency and all the space agencies all over the world, they all want to find a solution or different solutions to be able to ensure the safety orbiting of the satellites.
Okay. So to talk about the actual space race, like the term that historically referred to the competition for space dominance, mostly among countries, like on the level of the global superpowers, let's say, like the United States, back then Soviet Union and China. So nowadays we are witnessing this new space race, which is led by private companies that compete to be the first. That compete of who will be the first, the fastest, and they compete in achieving milestones like stepping to another planet or even inhabiting it. So in this context, I would like to ask you, like, what is your opinion on the new space race driven by private companies, and if it is something you are considering, like, within your work, Irene?
Yeah. Well. I'm not very into privatizing infrastructures, but I think it's true. Well, in my concernings, speaking or related to representation, that happens some interesting things on the file that couldn't have happened into governmental or public institutions by NASA, or Arabic Emirates space companies. In terms of representation, for example, SpaceX has launched a first mission led by a girl who has a disease on its leg, for example. So this community is represented thanks to that private company launch tourism. It was tourism trip, but there's a representation on the outer space that couldn't have happened on governmental institutions because we have strict trainings for astronauts, and it's very regulated in that way. But it's true that at the end they have a main goal or aim, which is taking some benefit or gaining something from that at the end from that research. So not all European PIMEs that are very more regulated, but I think in some limits, especially SpaceX or Elon Musk, imaginaries such as Mars colonies or mining asteroids and returning back to the Falcon 9 missions and all that stuff, has some risks, and especially concerning to outer ecosystems and what are we doing outside that could also had an impact on Earth as well. So I think it's interesting in some parts, and have some. We can do some things that we couldn't just with the public institution infrastructure, but always I take in account that there's a private gain or goal behind all those research projects.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned that there are also some positive aspects, like for example, a person that normally would never be able to go to the space, so because of the regulations. And Dorottya, could you maybe think or compare this, like, are there other advantages or disadvantages when this regulated and very strict space sector is moved to the private realm that may not be as regulated or even as transparent?
Yes, thank you for the question. It's a very important question. I always worked for private companies in the previous years, and I see really the competition. Even if we are talking about the CubeSats, there are several CubeSat companies even in also in Europe and all around the world, because the CubeSats are usually very small, easy to build, and also it's not so costly, not so expensive as the huge satellites. And usually you can use the COTS components, means that you can buy it on the different websites, so you don't have to be very of course, you have to be careful, but you can use the components from your phone, from different types of cameras, which has no flight heritage. We call the flight heritage when any kind of components or any kind of technology is already flight proven and was flown in space. And for these companies, for the private companies, this is the goal, to reach the flight heritage with their products, with their developments, with their technology. And that company who has the most time spent in space with their technologies, there will be the most successful ones. And also reliability is a key here, because of course, you cannot go up and fix something if anything goes wrong. But on the other hand, if we are talking about the space agencies, they have their own development projects in this institute, but they also outsourcing a lot of tasks, a lot of activities. So they are rather in a reviewer positions and the coordinating positions here in Europe, at least. And it's also very important to have this regulating body and these standards. We have this European space standards, and most of the companies, a lot of companies working on based on this these documentations, which can be a good selling point in their products. That all of the processes, starting from the design through the manufacturing and the testing activities, are based on these processes, these documents, and they can prove that they really went through every single step which needs to be done in order to go to space.
I understand. So also getting back a bit to the SpaceX you mentioned, Irene. So what is interesting that in the recent years, or since especially the SpaceX or Blue Origin appeared with this very bombastical, scandalous almost ideas. So yes, these controversial statements brought the space industry into the headlines and bombastic news, catching a lot of attention. And some of these controversial ideas is, for example, the effort to establish a new space tourism, or even space tourism where only the most privileged one could really use. And another idea is the one of interplanetary species, like the only fate or the only possibility for humanity to survive. So, my question following up on that would be, how do you feel, especially Dorottya as a professional, how do you feel about such bombastic statements, like the idea about the interplanetary species, through which a private company is somehow appropriating the decision about the future of humanity and maybe setting trends, or at least trying to do so. So what do you think about this idea, and would it be something we could consider a goal, or is it just not like that?
In my opinion, competition is always good because it improves the efficiency of the development. And of course, SpaceX is a leading company in the space tourism, and also there are several other companies, especially in the US, who are striving to conquer space as soon as possible. But on the other hand, the space agencies has their own human spaceflight programs, and you should know that the human spaceflight programs are the most dangerous ones, and it requires the most complex systems, because it's not just a satellite that you have to keep alive, but human bodies, and you have to solve a lot of issues, starting from the waste resources, and also the air quality, and every aspect that that keeps you alive, basically, need to be developed and operated up there. And yes, this is an unfortunate news that the International Space Station will come back in 6 years, or it will be the end of the lifetime, and they are already building and started to design the new space stations, and also China has their own space stations up there. And I don't know if you know, but right now there are already 10 people, 10 person in space. So the human presence in space is kind of a continuous thing in the past decades. So, of course, the more is the better, and we still have a long way ahead of the to discover Moon and Mars and to settle down there. There we need to develop much more technologies to be able to growing plants, food, and store these resources in a different planet, because it's really out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this context, Irene, from your critical artistic perspective, what do you believe, like, in what extent is this expansive culture, like the colonization of space, is it a solution for humanity to survive and become an interplanetary species? Or maybe is it just this profit-seeking, competitive and accelerated culture ignoring the limits of natural resources that is so harmful to the humanity?
That I think that there's like the most, just I don't know how to say, yellow press, like the argument they use in that new space race, it's like climatic hecatomb. Okay, so we're not just, there's no just nation competitions anymore, because there's no like those bellic or those space wars, outspace wars that are all on science fiction imaginary, and as well happened on first space race. So they usually use there's no more cobalt resources on Democratic Republic of Congo to make more Tesla batteries at the end. So we have to extract those materials from other spaces, and instead of rethinking about the system of extraction, let's look forward to other natural resources to get them from there. So are we, I think we are already a multiplanetary species at the end. As Dorottya says, there's space, humans living in international stations in outer space already. And it normally comes up to two positions when we debate about human intervention in outer space. There's eco-conservationism that really claims or stands that human has been so anthropocentric that we just not have to intervene anymore and respect the outer ecosystems and fluids. Happens what happened, and the extreme of exploiting as much as we can over there. And I think there's like a middle point inside that could understand that we are related or interrelated with outer ecosystems. Solar winds protects Earth and gives us a magnetosphere to make life possible here. So the sun is windy, and so we depend on the sun somehow at the end. And we also intervene on the outer context for maintaining our living. DART mission is a mission that really claims to protect us from asteroids impacts. So we're using technology at the end just to be interrelated with the outer. I think the point of the debate is from where are we doing it, and from which logics are we playing over there. And as you were saying, there's a lot of military background when we speak about at the outer, and we speak about missions, expeditions, but we do not often speak about relations with outer space at the end. So, well, be a multiplanetary species, yes, but from where? like from which volunteer are we doing it at the end?
Absolutely.
Just one more comment here. So, if we are able to develop this kind of systems, we can also use it here on Earth in the distant lands, like in the deserts or the Arctics, when the food supply or the medicine supply is not that available.
So is it then the process of first trying it in the outer space and then bringing it back to Earth, or is it just a retroalimentation of the process? Or wouldn't it be easier to do these experiments like in the desert and then also replicate it? Or how is the logic?
Yeah, actually, there are already some missions called analog missions in different deserts and places when when the human presence is not so often. So they are usually doing this for a few weeks or a few months long missions there, and in these places the communication with the mission control team is delayed as well, like they were in Mars or on the moon, and there they are trying out new technologies, but here in Earth you need different. You have different environment. Of course, you don't have a microgravity. You don't have this thermal environment. For example, in the desert, so you need different kind of testing for this instruments.
Yeah, but it's curious that in those analog stations, well, they make like how could we live on Mars for some weeks with the amount of water we will need there when we hypothetically go there, and we, for example, we taste other technologies in the outer space that we cannot taste here, as the MOXIE that Perseverance has is a device that can convert CO2 in breathable oxygen. So the gender-engineering debate is like too new to open it here and socially complex. So as we are not still ready to taste it here or to make like huge carbon cleaners, we taste it over there. And we intervene it there, and we have a technology that's already working that we know that can convert CO2 into breathable oxygen at the end, and we have it like we own it somehow. So yeah, we it's like curious to think that we are not really prepared to maybe put it here on Earth because I don't know why social structures that cannot, or politic complexes that doesn't allow us to taste it here, but we taste it there.
And another topic I would like to discuss is the underrepresentation of women in the aerospace sector. So, Dorottya, you as a professional, well, it's definitely an issue that women are underrepresented. I have a statistic from 2009 that I found published by the organization Women in Aerospace Europe, according to which only 22% of all people employed in aerospace industry across Europe were women in 2019, which is a significant underrepresentation. And you, as a woman working actively in the space industry and research, can you please tell us what is your experience, like which barriers do women encounter on the path or their professional path? And also maybe could you name some stereotypes from your experience that you met?
Well, unfortunately, I always experience this number, and in my previous company here in Hungary, we had 33% of women in the company, which was much better than the average within Europe. But at the rocket factory and also at the company I'm working in Munich, we have less women again than men. I think it all started at the universities or the lower education, like the high schools, because the girls are usually not that interested in natural sciences, but those who are, they are really good. And even if they are studying math, chemistry, or physics, or any kind of engineering in the universities, they are they have the same abilities as the guys. Of course, the number of girls are usually is lower in every engineering or science related, or not every, but most of the engineering related departments. There is interesting for me that in math and chemistry, there are the numbers are kind of equal. So it's rather for the engineering part. Sorry. But based on my experiences, the guys or the men in the industry can be really friendly, and they are usually accept my opinion, so it's very easy to work with them. Usually they are educated, and they know basically how to behave with a woman. And in Europe we used to this kind of approach as a woman, or at least me. And I didn't have any problem with this so far, but of course the representation of women in this industry, it's as important as in other industries. Like I've heard stories. I've heard a story before that when they wanted to send the first women astronaut to space, they had to change the spacesuit because it was designed to men, basically. And with the women presence in space, you have to think a little bit differently, and also the ladies have different kind of ideas, different perspectives on each aspects of the development processes.
And Irene, also the question to you, but maybe from a different angle, because it happens that we encounter masculine symbolic, which is very obvious in the aerospace, like for example the androcentric iconographies of the astronaut, like a male figure, and also by very direct references to masculinity through the nomenclature used for rockets and spacecrafts. I have some examples here. So it's, for example, Columbia, Discovery, Atlantis, Endeavour, Challenger. And I have a quote from Judy Weitzman, who wrote that for the second half of the 20th century, dreams of freedom have been associated with space travel. Here was the contemporary equivalent of man's historic quest to conquer nature, drawing on earlier Western colonial narratives about discovering new worlds. So, Irene, you are dealing with the more recent rocket that was built in Spain and which fits absolutely into this masculinizing pattern and was given the name Miura. Could you please explain to us what the name Miura means and how the masculine culture is reflected in this name?
Well, so Miura in the Spanish culture is bravest and fiercest bull. We have those bullfights events in the south of the country, and they normally use the bull to inseminate other cows, and means in Spanish culture means be the bravest. So again, those logics of power and braveness when it comes to go to a blank space or a foreign space arises. And yeah, PDL, which is that Spanish private company that only pretends to put some satellites on low Earth orbit, not missions of huge missions as Elon Musk's, but yeah, they've called it Miura. And I'm developing a critical device currently at V2 that really plays with that symbolic and consists in two arrows with the shape of banderillas, which are those instruments they use to stand the bull in those bull spectacles. But yes, it often happens that man representation just reflects of our actions outer space. The shape of the Apollo, I don't know how to say placa, but this Apollo writing they put on moon when they arrived appealed to humanity with mankind. Okay, so the Apollo missions, okay, you men. Okay, so mankind arrived here, not even humanity. So it's more, so it's those specific, the use of language is important to be represented as well there, and yeah.
And do you think like there's already some critical reflection happening, or that it's something changing, or how do you see this from your research?
I think it's changing. Furthermore, Dorottya, and also are more astronauts, more girl astronauts that can train to become a flyer on or a leader of a space mission. I think that's changing. In fact, Europe has some quotas that they have to fill in, though sometimes doesn't happen, but they are somehow compulsory to do it. And yes, it will come that equality once.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
And another topic I would like to address in this context is the importance of time in relation to space. So we know time can be understood and researched from various disciplines, as we know, like from sociology, philosophy, physics. And the aerospace industry, well, time has many different forms or meanings. And I guess the importance of time and measurement is especially relevant when thinking of space and flying to space. So one factor that I found is that the time is behaving differently in the outer space. Like our terrestrial convention about time have to be adjusted somehow. And the second factor would be the process that take a lot of time, like time for a spaceship to arrive on another planet. Like I think I wrote down that it's 6 months to fly from Earth to Mars, more or less. So which in our notion is a very long traveling time. And the third factor I suggest would be the constant pressure of speeding up, like to save time, speed the time up, which is part of this competitive and accelerated culture. So, Dorottya, the question from you would be, like, from your perspective as an aerospace professional, what does time represent to you? And how is time important in your work? And maybe a sub-question, like, how are aerospace experts treating the different factors of time? Like, could you please explain us a bit about this?
Yes, well, as a project manager, for me, time is really important to keep everything on track and to deliver the product as soon as possible. Of course, it's like the life of the project managers mostly, and also the time we need to go to the market, the time to market. It's very important because right now we are in a competition, and or the orbiting product is one of the first in the world, and but we know that we have some competitions either in Europe and in Japan. And who will have the most reliable solution and the most experience in this field? It will be the leader in this area, of course. And from the other perspective, in the space perspective, it's very interesting that for testing space technology, you will need, of course, different time frames. And with the CubeSats, with the small satellites, if you have a small miniaturized technology, you can have the flight heritage. You can test your technology within just a few weeks or days or a few months. But if you would like to build a service, a reliable service like telecommunication or Earth observation, taking pictures about different areas of the Earth, then of the surface, you will need some time to do the statistics. So you have to plan your mission for 3 to 5 or even longer to 7 or 10 years. And if we are thinking about interplanetary missions, of course, that's again another topic. You will have more time to develop the whole satellite. It can take several years, even decades. Like, for example, the Rosetta mission, developing and testing the Rosetta mission took like 10 years. And after the launch, they had to wait again 10 years to be able to operate and watch the comet that they were landed. So we have different perspectives of time here.
So on one hand, like it's the competition, like for the speed, but on the other hand, it also requires a lot of patience because there are some processes you cannot skip and take up to 10 years.
Exactly. Exactly.
And Irene, in respect to the time factor, especially in the context of the new space race, like and the new space economy as well, how are you dealing with time in your artistic practice?
Last propulsion engines can float and drive from 7,000 kilometers hour. I don't know if that's the measurement. So we often tend to relate speed to technology without thinking that there's a system beneath that really wants to be exponentially quicker and rusher. So I don't know if because I'm very sensible, it's my medium, and I really like to freak out with the technology. I don't want to just let all the the pain on it. It's not engine, but a more complex structure of gaining some system at the end that looks forward of the speed, not just because we can communicate faster, that also interferes on the speeds, and we can WhatsApp super quickly in comparison with other epochs. We had all those anxious problems at the end. It's not just technology, it's just also people that wants to go faster in that proclaim of the maximum we can do.
So I would ask you one or two final questions now related to awareness and demystification. So especially the aerospace sector and technologies and the vocabulary related to it appears to many people as literally something out of this world, and it's like can feel like distant and disconnected from our everyday lives. So, however, there are undoubtedly like many aspects that are relatable, but perhaps like not presented in a way that we would relate to them. So, do you, a question to both, do you believe that it is important to raise the public awareness, like in the general public, about what is happening in the aerospace research and industry? And what do you think, like, how relevant is it to be informed about the development? How can it maybe affect our lives? Irene, you can start.
Okay. I think that art is a very good tool to democratize on that. We often think that technophysics and scientists are like able people, but they're just doing their work, what they have to do, or just cube satellites or whatever. And culture can intersect those results somehow to complement something. For example, craters on Mars are named as Earth cities, which is a bit complex, or it's the same as Spanish we did in South America at the end. Has a cultural colonialist aspect, naming spaces as we are, as this, it was a blank space. Okay, so a huge group of philosophers could think about how to name those craters with the International Geographic Union of Outer Space at the end, like all together. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, Silvia. Sorry.
Yeah. You are basically, because absolutely, like the work you are doing, like your artistic practice is already somehow like raising awareness. I wouldn't say like necessarily popularizing, because that's not your objective. But yes, raising awareness and maybe like to have a different approach to the space technology and
democratize. I mean, we can project scenarios in outer space not just through a huge amount of money to make a space rocket, but we can imagine or propose other scenarios through art and through science fiction and through other mediums. Yeah.
And Dorottya, how about like your vision of the importance to popularize the aerospace science?
Actually, I mean, I'm always surprised at how many people is interested in space in general. If I met with a new group of friends or anyone, a lot of people are saying that, oh, I wanted to be an astronaut. I was so interested in astronomy, and I wanted to study that in the university. But then their career path went to other ways. But in general, I think that they are interested in technology, and you can also see that on the online news portals there are dedicated pages for science and technology, and a lot of space-related news are appearing them. And also in the big space conferences, like it was the International Astronautical Congress in Milan with more than 10,000 scientists and engineers 2 weeks ago in Milan. They are usually having open days for the public when the registration and the entrance is free or in a very low price, so all the students and the public can come and see the latest results, the lectures, the space-related lectures, and also to the exhibition, visit the different companies' booths, so they can expand their knowledge. And on the other hand, I think it's very important to raise the awareness in the young generation. So I'm involved in the work of the Hungarian Astronautical Society. We are organizing different lectures, space camps, and open days for everyone who is interested. And right now, of course, we are living in a world of information, and a lot of videos and materials are available online. And my friends, even the ones who are not working in space, they are always happy to follow them.
Great. So to close this talk with one last quick question, because we are here in the context of the Reclaiming Technology project that aims to demystify technology. So my final question would be, from your experience, can you think of some maybe funny or like any myth or misunderstanding around the aerospace technology that you encountered in your practice or your work? Dorottya?
I have to think of it.
Yeah, okay, think of it. And Irene, you have some?
I learned like a few weeks ago that making a satellite is not as hard as we think. Not really. I mean, it's hard in the infrastructure they make, but it works with at least like many simple sensors at the end that can be not do it yourself, but you could understand how a satellite works easily if someone just stops to you and explain it, and you could just understand it, and it's not as hard as we think. Yeah.
Okay, so you just need like someone who can explain understandable way. Oh, cool. Okay.
Well, or maybe you just can do it on Google if you're much interested. But someone that approaches with kindness to you,
Perfect.
Yes, I have two examples. One of them is there is a competition here in Europe called the CanSat competition, and the basic idea is to build a satellite in a Coke can, like the small one, and it's for mostly not university but high school students. So it gives them the opportunity to learn how to design the subsystems of a satellite. Why do you need the communication, the energy and power supply, and other different technologies in the satellite. And yeah, the other thing is that is very interesting for me is the application of 3D printing.
3D printing.
Yeah, even in terms of the rocket engines or a lot of different parts of the satellites, like the structure and other parts.
Cool, amazing. So thank you very much for the talk. I think that was the last question, and questions from the audience, if there are, please go ahead.
AI technology creating salmon and meat. I don't know about Europe. I think because of regulation, I don't think it's happening here. But would that actually help in space with that technology innovation in terms of the lack of resources that currently is in Mars?
Yes, I definitely think that if we can use something which is already developed here on Earth and we can use it in the everyday life, or maybe not every day yet, but it's definitely something that can be used up there as well. But for this, we also need some resources, and the astronauts have to bring the basics, the basic components with them. So obviously, it can be easier to produce some food up there than to plant them and maybe took less time. But yeah, it's a trade-off basically that they have to make. But they are working on it. Definitely the nutrition scientist, and I know some people from Australia, from NASA, who are working on the food supplement and the food supplies of the astronauts. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, back in 2015, when I met my friend, she's American, so she was selected to be the last 100 candidates to join the One-Way Mars project. I'm sure you've heard about that. So it was funded by a Dutch company. It didn't go ahead, but she opened my eyes. I am very open-minded, but to go one way to Mars, not coming back, I thought the number of people that actually wanted to do that, it really opened my eyes, and especially someone I actually met. So it didn't go ahead because of funding. It was a lack of funding. I think that was the main issue. Do you know if there is any other planning of these type of projects coming, or maybe you know? I don't know.
I know that there are some research projects in this area, especially the analog missions that we were already talking about. So there are people that are really researching that field, how you can survive mentally, physically, in a very closed environment and a very distant environment. And I think that there are some plans right now for the one-way missions. I'm not really aware of them, but I also know some friends who applied to this program. And yes, 10 years ago exactly. And actually, I'm following a couple of people on Instagram right now who are young students, space enthusiasts, and they are preparing themselves, and they are posting, like not every day, but quite often, how they keep themselves fit and mentally, physically, what they are studying to be able to go to Mars, to be able to join these missions. And their dream is really to go to Mars. No one can enjoy it right now, that it will be way back home, but maybe in 10 years, in a few years, we don't know. Yeah.
Yes, you can look forward to the Atacama Desert Analog Station. They do trainings over there just to get ready to go to Mars. To the Atacama. Yeah.
For the 100 candidates, and they were doing programs, how to prepare them, although they were not selected at that time, but they were really seeing the potential of.
Yeah, in extreme scenarios. Yeah, and they also have a project which is so fun, it's called Potatoes on Mars, because tuberculosis is the species that could grow in a non-atmosphere scenario, because Mars doesn't have atmosphere, it doesn't have magnetosphere, so tuberculosis could grow. And in Peru, they're developing these potatoes of the space, which is a funny name, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so you can look forward, yeah.
Yeah, but just one more thought to this question. I really like this kind of visionary missions and ideas, because they can give you a perspective about your life, how grateful you can be to be here on Earth and to discover and experience all of the nature and everything we have here. But on the other hand, it can also give you a purpose to be more educated, to learn more about your environment, how things work exactly, how you can make it even more efficient and better.
100%. When I met her, I was actually really opened my eyes, like I didn't realize, but when she explained to me why she wanted to do that, there are a lot of reasons, valid reasons, that different perspectives would not think until you actually, that's why it's good talking to different types of people, to open your mind and your eyes.
So thank you very much. Are there some other questions, maybe? So maybe later. So thank you very much for the talk, and so we can go now to the next program. After maybe some 10 minutes break, we will set up the